Hey there. What is up, everybody? My name is BQ, and welcome to a new show here on Pro Wrestling Voice called 6 Points of Impact. And I'm only asking for a few minutes of your time. You might be someone who's not sure if they want to give another shot, who reads all the dirt sheets, reads all the negative stuff online, on Twitter, listens to these podcasts, and you don't know whether to believe it or not. Well, here we are, 6 points of impact. I'm going to tell you the six things that stood out to me from Impact Wrestling each Tuesday. And just so that you guys know that I'm not a fanboy, not only am I going to tell you the positives, but I'm going to tell you the negatives too. So first of all, before we even get started, go ahead and subscribe to the channel here at Pro Wrestling Voice. Give the video a thumbs up, and I would love to hear in your comments some of your positives and negatives about the show. And if you're someone who already watches Impact, hey, that's cool too. You can just look at this as a preview to our upcoming podcast that we do each week on our own channel, on my own channel, called the King of the Mountain podcast. So if you like 6 Points of Impact, think you might want to give Impact Wrestling another shot, maybe listen to the podcast, then just check the description of this broadcast and you can subscribe to my channel, King of the Mountain podcast. All right, so let's get started. Point number one. When was the last time we had a fighting heel champion in professional wrestling? Well, I guess you could call Jay Lethal a pretty decent fighting champion. But oftentimes when you turn on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown, for instance, and the champion is a heel, like maybe a Seth Rollins or a Sheamus back when he was the champion for that small amount of time, they like to book their heel champions as cowards and people who want to run away from a fight. One of the first things that really stood out to me with Impact tonight was that Bobby Lashley, who is the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion, is pretty much establishing himself as a fighting champion because it fits his character. So there was basically a match. I'm not going to get into it because we're going to talk about it on the podcast, where they were looking to book a number one contender. That match ended up turning into a triple threat option for next week on the show. So not only does Lashley have to defend his title next week, but it's going to be against EC3 and Drew Galloway, which is frankly the biggest triple threat match that TNA can book at this point. And we're going to get it next week on Impact. Should be a really, really cool match. But when the match was announced to Lashley, tried to make excuses. He didn't run from it. He said, okay, cool, let's do this. And that's not something we normally see from a heel champion. Point number two. The tag team division in TNA is extremely, extremely weak right now. It's easy. I mean, as early as just a few months ago, they had one of the strongest tag divisions of professional wrestling. But then what happened? Eric Young left the company, so that broke up the team of him and Bram. Davey Richards got hurt, so that put the Wolves on the shelves, and has Eddie Edwards doing singles matches right now. And then Bobby Roode left the company, which got rid of Beer Money. So we had a really, really strong division, and now it's extremely watered down. Thankfully, we have the Decay, which is really, in my opinion, the best faction in wrestling right now. It is, picture the Wyatt family being booked correctly. Picture the Wyatt family with the group. That's the way I look at the Decay. Decay is a really, really cool gimmick. So basically at Slammiversary, they had a tag team title match with the Bromans. It was a great match, but a lot of people did not feel like the Bromans were the right group to go against the Decay, or the right team to go against them. But frankly, who were they going to put up against them? They're not going to put Grado and Shira. The Tribunal's a new group. So the tag division is really, really struggling right now. So I was really, really impressed tonight when Decay came out to the ring. They called out Bram to the ring, who, if you guys aren't familiar with Bram, he was the original member of the Ascension for just a couple weeks in NXT before he was fired from WWE. And then he was later replaced by Victor. But Bram is a pretty badass dude. There was a segment where it involved Bram getting beat down, and it looks like Bram is probably going to end up having to find a tag team partner to go against the Decay. So it's really, really cool because there's a lot of possibilities of who Bram could team up with. If he were to team up with James Storm, for instance, and they were to go into Decay, that actually would be a really, really fun, huge feud. Next one is we had a knockouts match tonight, Jade against Marty Bell. Something that's really showed me and really proved to me, and it's really in my humble opinion that the knockouts are just the best women's wrestling that you're going to find. They don't have the Becky Lynch. They don't have the Sasha Banks. I get that, okay? But if you're talking about top to bottom female talent, the knockouts is doing a great job. They've made some really good signings. The roster they had in January when they debuted on Impact was actually extremely weak, and they've made some really, really good additions and even better subtractions, Velvet Sky, in the last few months, and the division is looking great. Which really, really stood out to me with this is that TNA has been successful in being able to book women's wrestling feuds that do not center around the title. And that's something where WWE has struggled for a very, very long time, where if you're not going against Charlotte, we got nothing for you. We don't see Sasha Banks on TV. We barely see Paige on TV. And this is one area where TNA is doing a really, really good job, is, again, just building a good female feud that is not centered around the title. And it opens a lot of other possibilities. They do great things with the females, using some of them as temporary valets, and they find roles for them. So if they're not involved in one of these top feuds, there's some kind of role for them on TV. So they're just doing a really killer job with the knockouts right now. It was a really, really hard-hitting match. Marty Bell is not the best knockout in the ring, let's be honest, but it was a good match. It was, again, hard-hitting. She did a lot of good selling, and Jade just looked phenomenal. She's one of the standouts in women's wrestling. Point number 4, the X Division. One of the reasons people watched TNA for years was the X Division. The last couple years, not so much. And this is obviously an area where TNA really needs to step up, because WWE is providing some really, really good options for lightweight and cruiserweight wrestling right now. Obviously, Ring of Honor is, Lucha Underground is. This was TNA's baby, and now they have to step it up. One thing that there was a title match tonight, wasn't real crazy about the outcome, but one thing I really enjoyed and that made me happy is that the X Division appears to have an actual storyline for the first time in a while. Destination X is coming up. Whoever's standing tall with the X Division champion has the option of gosh, I forgot what it's called. I think it was called Option C, where they can cash in the X Division title in exchange for a world title shot. So that's a really cool thing they got going on soon. It lets us know that, hey, the X Division is going to get a little bit of focus here coming up. And tonight was kind of the start of an actual storyline with Mike Bennett and the X Division, of all people. So they turned a really bad Dixie Carter segment into a promising X Division storyline. So I think that's something really, really positive that we're going to see coming up. 5th point, kind of a negative. Okay, I said I don't want to be a fanboy. I'm not going to sit here and say TNA is the greatest thing in the world. All right, I'm not going to be a fanboy. So here's my negative for the show. Next week, even though we're getting a huge triple Ashley, Galloway, and EC3, along with a Knockouts Championship match that they barely let us know was happening, where Sienna's going to defend against Gail Kim. Even though we're getting those 2 huge matches, damn, they rushed those. Damn, they felt rushed. You've got the biggest possible triple threat that TNA can do right now, and you just made the match on Impact, and now we're going to get it next week. I now, granted, TNA only has 2 pay-per-views a year, so you can't use pay-per-views as an excuse, but build these feuds, build these up a couple of weeks, build some more heat. Don't give us the biggest possible match as fast as possible. Same with the knockouts. Sienna and Gail Kim should put a phenomenal match on. I really, truly think Gail Kim is the best women's wrestler in the world. She's so smooth and fluid in the ring and makes her opponent look good no matter who it is. That's a huge match. It's going to be a good match. It's going to be a fun match. And damn, we're getting it next week with no kind of build whatsoever. TNA has been doing a great job with creative this year and a great job with builds. The Slammiversary build was one of the best builds I've seen in wrestling in years. Come on, TNA. Finally, my 6 point. The Hardys still got it. There was a lot of positive and negative when it came to their video that surfaced online. Now, I personally was a big fan of it because it's just professional wrestling. And if you follow TNA, you get it. If you don't follow TNA, you're like, what is this corniness? But it was kind of supposed to be corny, kind of supposed to be funny. It was just supposed to be like a professional wrestling thing. And oftentimes, kayfabe has kind of gone out the window with WWE. And then when you turn on another show, you just kind of forget that we're watching creative programming sometimes. So we got a Matt Hardy's match tonight. Now, I, for one, wanted the feud to be over at Slammiversary, but we got it again. This isn't like how the internet tries to play it out where they act like the Hardys wrestle every week. That's really not true. They've had 4 matches this year. You can turn on WWE program and see 2 guys fight 4 times in, 3 weeks between their 2 shows. So it's, it really wasn't that big of a deal. These 2 really got it, though. And this is a match that I really think you guys would have enjoyed. So, DVR Impact if you're not a fan. And if you did watch it, I think you'll agree with me. It was a good match. The guys are brothers. It was a 6 sides of steel match. A lot of weapons were involved. These guys really just have great chemistry. And Jeff Hardy gave us a big spot at the end of the match that always makes a Jeff Hardy match worth it. These guys still got it. It was a good match. And having such great chemistry in the ring, well, that kind of makes up for the fact that the storyline may have been a little bit corny. And I don't know, it's cool to see evolution. And I'm not trying to diss WWE right now, but if you think of 1 year ago, I'm going to say Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, John Cena, Dean Ambrose. I'll use those 4 names. Think of their gimmicks right now. Think of their gimmick 365 days ago. Same exact thing, right? Matt Hardy has actually had 3 gimmicks this year. 2 or 3. I'm not sure what it is. Yeah, if you talk about his babyface run and the heel turn and then now the broken mat. So you got to applaud the guy for being creative and doing something different. So again, a quick recap. 6 points. Number 1, it's great to have Lashley as a fighting heel champion. We don't see that very often in wrestling. Number 2, TNA was able to pull something creative out of their ass for the tag team division in setting up Bram in a feud with the Decay, who are phenomenal. We're going to see what Bram does and who he decides. I think it's going to be James Storm, and that could be a lot of fun. 3, the knockouts match between Jade and Marty Bell was very hard-hitting. It shows that TNA just has a phenomenal knockouts division. And the most positive thing about that to me is that they're building a good feud with heat that's not centered around the knockouts title. 4th, X Division. Looks like we might be getting a storyline because we've inserted Mike Bennett into the X Division picture. Storylines in the X Division. We haven't had that forever. Number 5, which was one of the negatives, we got 2 big title matches next week, and we rushed them. They're not just title matches, they're big title matches, and we rushed them with no build. No go. Then number 6, the Hardys still got it. You got to watch their 6. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. Hit subscribe here at Pro Wrestling Voice. Give a thumbs up. And again, if you watched Impact, let me know what your favorite part was. Maybe a part you didn't like. And we'll see if you agree with what I said about the show. If this may have interested you, and you want to take it a step further, click on the description. You're going to see a link to my channel, King of the Mountain Podcast. Myself and my co-host Will, we review Impact each week. Now, you might see some of our old episodes. They're Google Hangouts. Well, we're going to start doing a more traditional streaming feature here pretty soon. And you can follow us on Twitter as well at KOTM_podcast. And we do giveaways every couple of weeks. And they're really cool giveaways. And right now we're doing video shout outs from members of the TNA roster. So pretty big deal. Lots of fun. So, hey, thanks for tuning in, guys. give me a couple weeks of your time give me a couple minutes of your time each week, and I think I can convince you to check out Impact Wrestling each week. Again, this is BQ. Thanks for watching, guys.